Good afternoon, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, Acting Secretary for the New York Job Development Authority. I'd like to welcome everyone to this afternoon meeting, and we'll begin by taking a formal roll call of the members. Commissioner Eric Gertler.
Present.
Superintendent Linda Lacewell.
Present.
Adam Barsky.
Present.
Emily Youssef.
Present.
Alfredo Assad.
Present.
Steve McGrattan as designee for the Commissioner of Agriculture and Markets.
Present.
And Karen Coleman as designee for the Commissioner of the Department of Labor.
Present.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Gertler, you have a quorum and you may begin.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Debbie, and for, not just this, but for all the work that you do. Good afternoon. I now call to order the meeting of the members of the New York Job Development Authority for Thursday, December 17th, 2020. Before we get started, I'll ask that everyone please mute their phone until we are ready to speak. Also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak, please be sure to state your name before you begin. I'd like to note for the record that due to public health concerns and as authorized by an executive order of the governor, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I'll also note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to connect on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 p.m. yesterday. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The members have received the written materials in advance of this meeting and are free to ask questions at any time during the presentations. I will now ask the members whether anyone has a potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. If so, I'll ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. You will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to such item or items. Okay, hearing none. The first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the October 5th, 2020 members meeting.
Motion to approve. Adam Barsky.
Second. Emily Youssef.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. The motion carries. I would now like to call upon Ray Salivarios to present the next item on today's agenda, which relates to an authorization to make a JDL real estate loan for the benefit of Project SPAN. Ray, when you're ready.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, this is Ray Salivarios. The materials sent to the JDA board members concerns a proposed New York Job Development real estate loan for the amount of $1,340,000. The JDA loans will be used for the purchase and renovation of real property located in Brooklyn, New York. Total cost of the project is $3,350,000. The applicant, Project SPAN, is a New York State certified minority and women-owned business enterprise. The company was established in 2003 to provide project support services for the transportation infrastructure industry, including signals, communication, and traction power systems. An example of the work that Project SPAN does, it produces signal track cases for the MTA. The cases house the automatic block signaling and automatic train stop mechanisms. Project SPAN was founded by Ms. Nelly Torres. Ms. Torres brings over 20 years of experience to all aspects of construction operations and has extensive knowledge in the public infrastructure projects. In a male-dominated industry, Nelly started directly after graduating from high school. She worked her way up from being an assistant in the accounting office to do project manager and to ultimately being a executive handling the field decisions that are being made by her company. In 2003, Nelly decided to go out on her own. She established Project SPAN. She took the initiative and went through the New York State MW certification process, hung her shingles, and started to work. The project includes the acquisition of real property located at 197 Waverly Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Upon acquisition of the property, Project Span will renovate the building to accommodate the company's business activities. The building will consist of a shop and office space. While the core of the building will not require extensive interior renovation, it will require exterior work. The roof needs to be replaced and the bricks require pointing. The company will be outfitting a full office area with an open floor plan, a conference room, a kitchen, and a few dedicated offices for executive team members. Currently, there is an apartment in this area. Upon completion of the project, the project will no longer exist. The apartment will no longer exist. Project Span's 5-year lease has expired, and the company now operates under a month-to-month lease. The company finds itself in a position that should the owner of the building decide to sell, the company will be at risk as it scrambles to find a new location to rent or buy. Additionally, the availability of warehouse space is becoming extremely limited and expensive in New York City. As a building owner, Project Span will benefit from tax breaks and would establish equity over time instead of just paying rent. In conclusion, based on the 1A rating, which is the highest rating JD offers, Project Span currently generates sufficient cash flow from operations to service the projected project debt, with a projected debt service coverage that meets the JDA minimum standard of 1.20. The company's performance over the 3-year historical period is good, and we believe the default risk is low. Also, cash flow projections over the 3-year, indicate that the company will be able to service the debt going forward. In addition, JDA will have a second lien position in real estate collateral and will receive a personal guarantee from Nelly Torres. There will be sufficient security for JDA to be completely collateralized. Project Span meets JDA's loan-to-value requirement of 90%, and with the Project Span expects to create at least 7 full-time positions within 3 years. Thank you, and John Evan and I will now answer any questions the members may have.
Thank you, Ray. Any questions or comments from the members with regard to this item? Okay.
This is Alfredo. I do have a question regarding the projections on page 36, the 5-year financial projections. And just in general going forward, I think, Ray, we've spoken about this before, that the projection should have some kind of discussion as to how they're generated. In other words, what are they based on? Are there any particular contracts that are imputed in here? Just some kind of basis for this would really be helpful.
Okay. I mean, there is information. The company just entered into a contract pre-pandemic. It's a long-term contract worth almost $15 million, and that's taken into consideration due to the projections.
Okay. It's just that 2 years is $15 million, and we're going out to 2024, where they're generating, 30 million or whatever it is, 30-something million over the next, from 2021 to 2024. And there's little discussion as to how that was established. So, and at the end of the day, given the collateral value and if we need to liquidate, this is, so some of the JDA loan is basically based on cash flow, not on collateral.
Right.
So that's.
Yeah, and this is John Evan Hornsby. Yes, so the projections, again, like as Ray alluded to, are based on the contracts that they entered into pre-pandemic, so $15 million worth of contracts. They've also recently been awarded 2 additional contracts in 2020 that they feel comfortable with the projections that they've kind of outlined for us. They do, year to date, they're on track to exceed 2020. They've had $8.7 million of revenue so far. So they're going to exceed the projection of $9 million and likely exceed the net income from 2019. And also, they do project that the revenue will go down in 2021 and slowly increase over time as, the effects of the pandemic kind of hopefully wear off and they're able to get more contracts.
Right, and we're all betting on that. It would be nice to have some backup as to how these numbers are established, these projections are established. But I hear you. The only other question I have, if I may, is on page 35, the collateral analysis. So they're buying the property for $3,050,000. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
And they're putting in $300,000 worth of renovations.
Right.
So the collateral value, if you get this appraised at purchase, it's not going to have the renovations as part of the value, is it?
No, but the renovations are minor. You're just doing the roof. It's not going to have a substantial impact on what that property would appraise at. In fact, that property we expect to appraise much more than what we listed here. This is just a conservative estimate of what we need the collateral value at. I mean, the neighborhood is, I'm not a Brooklyn guy, I'm a Bronx guy, but I understand the neighborhood it's very good. This property
well, it's Dumbo, right?
Yeah, Dumbo. So
yeah.
It is, we believe that the location will enhance the ability for the property to appraise where we need it to be.
Yeah, and just for some background, the property was sold for $3.2 million in 2017. Again, this is John Evan Hornsby, sorry. And it was listed for 3.9 earlier in the year, but they negotiated down to 3.05. So we do feel comfortable that, the 3.35 is a good estimate. Obviously, we will get an official appraisal, but that's it's all pending that appraisal.
Well, right. So this may be, well, it's not form over substance, but it relates to the underwriting. The 3.350 is after they put in the renovations, but you're underwriting this, and at closing, you're going to have a property that's unrenovated and valued at $3,050,000.
So we don't.
That's based off of the purchase price, but again, the appraisal may value it higher actually. So it'll be at closing. It'll be based off the appraised value.
Right. And your minimum requirement is 90%.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Normally, I would not impute or give credit for renovations in the valuation unless you're going to do another appraisal after renovation. But we're rolling the dice a little bit on what the appraised value will be at purchase.
Well, sorry, at closing, when JDA takes out, that's after the project is complete, right? So that should be. So
they will have renovated? They can't purchase it without the JDA loan because the M&T loan is not sufficient. So they need our money to buy the property.
But, this is Ray Salabarrios. If the property doesn't appraise, the project's not going to happen. So the bank feels confident, and we're working with M&T Bank, and the gentleman who covers Brooklyn for M&T, they feel confident based on the area and their experience in that community that the building would appraise to the value that we need it to be. We all know that the building doesn't appraise. It's 9%. We all know the building doesn't appraise. This project is not going to happen.
Right. Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. As noted earlier, we do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item, so I will now entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion carries. Good work, Ray. Kathleen Mize will present today's final agenda item, which also relates to the procurement of independent accountants for auditing and related services. Kathleen?
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, members. We are seeking authorization to appoint EFPR Group CPAs PLLC referred to as EFPR, as JDA's independent accountants for audit and related services, and to enter into a contract for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal option periods in the aggregate amount of $181,500, inclusive of a 10% contingency. As a component unit of New York State, JDA is required to conduct an annual independent audit of its combined financial statements. In anticipation of the end of the term of the current independent accountant's contract, an advertisement was placed in the New York State Contract Reporter, and a request for proposals was issued in October 2020. 3 qualified responses were received from the firms of the Bonadio Group, EFPR, and Marks Pennis. A review committee comprised of members of the finance, internal audit, and legal departments evaluated the proposals based on predetermined criteria enumerated in the RFP, some of which are experience with public entities like JDA, qualifications of the firm, partners, and audit team, financial strength and stability of the firm, commitment of time and resources to JDA, total cost of services and willingness to work with JDA to minimize costs, and implementation of and absorption of the cost of a mentor-protege program. Based on its review and evaluation, the review committee presented its recommendation to the Audit, Budget, and Governance Committee, and with its concurrence, recommends EFPR be appointed as JDA's independent accountants for audit and related services. In addition to receiving the highest overall ranking based on the predetermined criteria, the firm has submitted the lowest overall bid, inclusive of all entities and required filings, has experience with JDA's financial structure, including a strong understanding of the complexities of the organization, has consistently assisted JDA in the timely filing of independent audit reports to the Office of the State Comptroller, including best efforts for the fiscal 2019-20 audit during the adverse conditions of the COVID-19 pandemic, maintains professional standards, and works closely with JDA staff to evaluate and implement new financial requirements. In addition, EFPR has utilized the services of minority and women-owned businesses during previous contract periods at the state required level and has committed to a 30% participation throughout the new contract period, as well as a 6% SDVOB participation. Finally, EFPR will implement a mentor-protege agreement with the minority and women-owned contractors that will participate in JDA's audit engagement. I would just like to note for the fiscal year 19-20 audit, the state participation level was not achieved due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Based on the foregoing, we are requesting that the members authorize JDA to enter into a contract with EFPR for a 3-year term with 2 one-year renewal option periods in the aggregate amount of $181,500, inclusive of a 10% contingency. Thank you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, as noted earlier, we do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item. So now I will entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Motion.
Right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, well, thank you. This motion carries. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting, please?
Motion.
Motion,
made.
Karen Coleman.
Right. Any
Second,
opposed?
Steve McGrattan.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in today's meeting. It will now be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.